And here they all are in their robot modes together. It is a good set. It's good, like I say, to get them all combined all together, get them all complete, I should say. But you really do see the differences, and it can't just be my light box, but look at the vastness of shade difference between Firefly, Skydive and Silverbolt. So we got brilliant white here, and to a point, same with Slingshot. These guys are very off colour, off grade. Now, I'm not saying they were all uniform, but just things like that in immediate light, you really notice it. There are inconsistencies in this set, be it around tolerance, be it around mold design. I'm not certain this is the best way to do it. Having one big commander class and 4 deluxe limbs, it probably makes the most financial sense, but in terms of a build, no, not necessarily for me. I think they do look good together in terms of chug scale, and it is a good individual robot update to Combiner Wars. But we'll find out when it's all done. Did Combiner Wars do it better? For the minute, I think so. The robots have had a nice visual upgrade. As I say, I don't think Slingshot has ever looked this good. I don't think Firefly has ever looked this good. He's certainly better than Combiner Wars version. Air Raid, so-so. Skydive, probably. Silverbolt, yes, the Silverbolt is the best one of this set. And it feels a bit harsh to say that because he's a commander class. He's obviously going to have much more bells and whistles, but he does. The articulation, all of it, the size, the scale, he's got more to play with, so he was obviously going to stand out. The weakest one, as I said before, is probably Skydive, with Air Raids a close second. Just not a fan of that mould, but that's how they look together. It's good to get any team done, but I think if you are going to keep them individually, you're more likely to keep them in their jet modes than robot mode. And here they all are in their vehicle modes. Like I always say, when you get a squad together, kind of regardless how they look, they hide each other's imperfections, and this is no exception. It's really cool getting 5 jets together, and it's nice that they're not in masterpiece scale, that I can fit them all in a light box. Very nice to get them together. Okay, I'll start off with the simplest point, is that Skydive comes across as the weakest for me, closely followed by Air Raid. The kind of nothingness of how they are in their combined forms, they're very square, very hidden, I think is a shame. The size is really going against them. The jet mode on Air Raid I do like more so than Skydive, but I think Skydive offers little in robot mode, and as I say, Air Raid, despite being one of my favourite Autobot characters of all, is just nothing to write home about. This mould of Slingshot and Firefly actually does have a lot to it. It does have its limitations, particularly around the robot arms. They're very thin, very flimsy, but the jet mode, the style just works better. I think actually for a robot mode design, they're both pretty good. I like the detailing on Firefly's chessboard, but I think that kind of brilliant white use for Slingshot, as I say, it's probably the best this Slingshot has ever looked. Silverbolt is the standout of the set, but for a commander class he should be, for the money that's going into it. And yes, he's kind of got this whole DJ station at the back of him, but it's very cool still, nevertheless. It's good getting the set together, at least to have them in this mode. And you may keep them in this mode. And here we are, ready to combine Hasbro's first Superion combiner in almost 10 years, or about 10 years. And yeah, we're actually going to do this combination on camera for once, to keep those of you in my comments happy. Now, I will say I have put the legs of the torso piece around the right way. You do have to fold them around. If you've seen the piece, you'll know what I mean. You have to rotate the hinges round, and then the lower section of the legs 180 degrees round as well, but broadly speaking, everything else is how it comes apart in the Silverbolt add-on mode. So it makes sense to start with combining the legs and the torso. It's going to be a little awkward doing this in the light box as well, but this is what we're going to have to do. So fold in the sections there and that to the heel part of it. Things make definite clicks in areas as well. Combining leg piece comes up, and down comes his rather stumpy leg, and that is one leg. And with 2 legs done, we'll get it built up onto the base of the torso. Pretty good combiner pegs here. They're all kind of learned from other third-party companies, I guess. It's been Combiner Wars but pushed up a bit, and I don't think it necessarily matters as to which one goes on where, but they slot in pretty definitely. Pretty good, and you can already see some knee bend on the go, which is pretty nice, but we can have him standing. Now, it makes sense to bring in Superion's chest, Silverbolt. Now, this tab has to come down, and I did do a bit of a dry run through this. I found this tab section a bit tricky, so you can just see there, getting this tab up was a bit awkward. Not impossible, but line up to the grooves, fold this forward first to get it out of the way. There's 2 pegs at the base. On that goes. Peg in the back section, close in the front to give yourself that added lock-in and security, and then just fold things out the way so you can see what you're doing and get that section flush in on the back, which enables you to bring the top section down. Fan out the wings as well. There's 2 pegs for the nose cone to go into. And when all is said and done, you should have something like that. Okay, then we're going to focus on getting Skydive and Air Raid onto the back of the legs. This is a little bit firmer than I would like. I mean, good for security, but there's a very clever hinge. I'll actually just show you. To push this section in at the back, which the base of the Aerialbots will do, closes off the door to the front. But you've got some fairly tight pegs that you've got to push in for. So clipping the lower sections in, it's really a bit awkward. You've got to give it quite a lot of welly, and then sections at the top of the arms also plug in the side. Make sure these are all the way in to enable the doors to be closed. A bit tricky to do it all in a light box. Once you take it out and give it a bit of a push, it's there, and that is with the closed door feature. Now you can have Air Raid on one side, Skydive on another. There's a couple of images out there, be it from the cartoon or even production shots, that have kind of differing opinions. I mean, this is kind of Scramble City. You can do what you like. Going around for Air Raid, same premise as before. Make sure you've got everything lined up and give it a good push into place. And there you have it, 2 legs done. I like the hinge moving to get everything pushed in and tabbed into place, but it does, no, it's not easy for a light box. It does make you have to use a lot of force in them, and as I say, I briefly did it. I even had to use a screwdriver to pry them out at the end of it because it's quite sunken in there. But the fact it closes up some doors with some secret hinge, I think that's quite cool. Okay, moving on to the arms. So the arms are pretty self-explanatory and straightforward. And we have got, yeah, not my favourite, fixed opening and closing hands. Not great. I'll talk about that in final thoughts. So with that, it actually says to just put them in straight away as they are. So rotate them out to the side on very nice sounding ratchets. Down it goes. And over it goes, for the minute anyway, and the same with the other side still. When it comes to putting the arm bots on, get the guns out of the way, it says to put the upper section all on in place as is, and I know what you're thinking, but don't worry, it will get on there. And then the same to be on the other side, making sure it's all nice and flat to do so. And then perhaps the best feature is to pull this arm down. And with a bit of hinge play, there you go. It's a very clever technique. I do like it. Making sure the arms are fully extended down at the forearms, and there you go. That is Superion. I think everything is done correctly. Maybe a couple of wings have come out of place. We'll just tuck that back in. The wing configuration on the arms, I prefer them tucked in personally. I think it kind of creates a better image that way, but then he's already got Silverbolt wings on the arm, so it can get a little bit busy around the back, but I think I prefer them tucked inwards, just for a bit more of a cleaner aesthetic, but it's up to you. Maybe he does look better going outwards, who knows. I like the arm mechanism for combining. No, that doesn't look right, does it? Does that look right with the open bit? Not so sure. The instructions say to have them that way, so who knows. The bringing down of the arms I think is really clever. The splitting of the arms I think is really good. Very upper body presence here. Very wide, very stocky. Really like the chest, really like the arms, not wild on the head. I don't think that's the best head available, and that's where I feel Combiner Wars head was better. I have seen an upgrade kit already. I can't remember who it was who was doing it. Whether that comes out mass produced, I might get it, I might not. The yellow thighs are good, very Superion-like, very stumpy feet. Can't really look past that, that's a bit of a shame. And of course the jets on the back of it. Do you know what? I like that, and it's very true to everything, but it doesn't half limit some posability. So I'll quickly show you some. Because of the nose cone, that's as much as you're getting without moving things out the way. So you can do that to get a full range of bend. Yeah, that's awkward. of one of the few combiners to have the jets on the front side. We did that, didn't we, for Combiner Wars? When they were on the front, it looked weird, so we wanted them facing backwards, but then it hinders the knee bend. I do really like the joints here, so again, I'll show you some other articulation. We'll start at the bottom. Very nice ankle tilt, very good there. No toe tilt, bit of annoying. Knee bend is there, but then we'll start to bump into himself, which is a bit of a shame for what it does. Very good friction, very strong friction on the hip going outward. Oh, very strong indeed. Ratchets out on the side, and they do hold. Very impressive. Do like that one. And he will go back as well on the friction. Very strong friction there. Waist rotation, very nice. Will get a little bit of kibble in the way, but overall not too bad. No ab crunch. Trying to keep everything in shot here. Head rotation. Can do a, well, he can do a full 360. The top of his shoulders get in the way a little bit. Can look up a bit, can look down a bit as well, and a bit of a sideways wiggle. Arms are very good. You hear the ratchets out on the side and do hold. They almost feel like they don't, but they will. Forward on a ratchet and can do full 360 around. Do like that. Ratchets 90 degree forward. And bicep rotation, which is nice. The hands, there is a wrist rotation. It is good, but I don't think on a combiner we should be having closed fists. I think that is a bit of a no, that is a bit of a flaw against the figure. I think we should at least have opening and closing hand on most Hasbro figures, let alone combiners. We'll just quickly point out you can store all the guns on the wings if you want to. I will find in the end that they just want to bounce off when you move the figure because they're only on small pegs, so you may as well just keep them off. But it wouldn't be Superion, of course, without his long rifle. Now, I have got it into the pose to have into his hand, which is fine. A bit draggy on the floor like a walking stick. I don't think it came with a shield. I could be wrong, but I haven't found one. And I'm thinking through all the other bits that came with Silverbolt, I can't think of anything else. So is it just a rifle gun? That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Just to plug into the base there. But of course, additionally, you can plug it in onto the upper section of the arm, which is pretty cool. You can just see, if I take it off to show you, there is this peg on the forearm. You fold down the holster and there is a square peg there. And the bend at the top of the gun, if I get this lined up, will allow you to have arm bend and it not get in the way. It's a simple feature, but I really like it, and it's very in keeping for him. I think that is really quite cool. I am more pleased with the upper half of the robot than the lower half. I don't know if it's necessarily the best Superion in 10 years or so, but when you combine it up, it does look good. I don't really know what I can show you in this scale, but onto some comparisons. I'm not going to show you some of the big Masterpiece scale combiners. I'm not even going to show you the MMC combiners because they're smaller, because this guy is going to dwarf him, and just to put Defensor alongside him is not really going to show you an awful lot. God, I hate balancing this guy. Here he is alongside Unique Toys Warlord, a somewhat Legend scale, maybe, Predaking, an older one that doesn't stand up very well, hence why it's in a little bit of a shoved in pose. Considering everything I've got in my collections on the larger side, that probably works. Probably is a bit more in keeping than anything else. I do think this is a bit of a stumpy combiner. I think this is going to scale obviously more with the Menasor that came up before it from Hasbro with Legacy, and again with the Studio Series release, the 86, with the Constructicons making Devastator. So existing combiners, considering it's been 10 years, yeah, I think you're going to have a bit of a hard time here finding existing comparisons. Against another one I don't enjoy balancing and putting alongside things, but this is Make Toys Quantron. This is a much older combiner of their Computron. Yeah, quite a lot of time has passed, but quite like how these two look together, if that makes sense. They are quite similar, and there is a Legend scale Computron that's recently come out, but I think that works okay if you're looking for existing comparisons. And I suppose we'll finish off with something not a combiner alongside the special War Dawn-esque set of Alpha Trion, holding the key for Vector Sigma no less, which of course created the Aerialbots. So you can see what we're looking at for a typical Chug scale. He is still small, but I think if you've got a row of Chug figures, he's going to fit in more or less taller than the rest of them. He's going to be smaller than Titans. He's going to be bigger than the majority of figures that come in around 5-6 inches tall, and that's absolutely fine. It's just up to you whether you feel this surpasses the Superion from Combiner Wars some 10 years ago. So what is my view on the first Superion for 10 years? I wasn't sure of it. combining the individual figures or getting the individual figures, as you would have seen in the previous reviews. I felt it was lacking, and I still think there are some things that it falls maybe a little bit short on. But it's got a kind of magic to it when you build it, when you put it together. And I've said before, combiners are cool, combining combiners is cool, and this is no exception. It is maybe a bot of two halves, as I kind of alluded to throughout the review. The upper section is very stocky. You've got nice proportions to chest, to shoulder height, to height of the nose cone of the jets. The build of the chest is very good, very sizable, and it stands perfectly on your collection. The legs, less so. I think there are restrictions with the jets on the back of it, but I like the kind of hinging, closing door feature. I think that's clever. The feet are very dainty, and I'm not massively wild on the head, which is a bit of a shame. I think the back cleans up as well as you could hope. It would be nice if the cockpit section was a bit more secluded still, but it is what it is. Articulation is surprisingly good for a combiner with such a heavy frame to take the weight, and there is weight here even if they are smaller bots. But ratchets going around, that's nice. It feels quite nice and resilient, quite loud as well. Great ankle tilt going off there. I really do like that. I would have liked to toe tilt down, but there's bends in the right places. Okay, non-opening and closing hands on pretty much every part of this set, every individual figure, and the combined form as well. And I think that's probably its biggest flaw. I think if you're going to go to this level of engineering for the build, you want opening and closing hands. Just a little bit, and it wouldn't have been hard to put in. Now, of course, I had a chat, another shameless plug, with Evan at MCM Comic Con recently, talking around budgets and what tools and bells and whistles they can put into each one of their figures throughout the year. Probably that's one bit of feedback I would say. For everything else that's here and everything else that's really, really good, that is possibly the one missing ingredient that I would like a bit more of. Other than that, it does everything fine. Waist rotation, I mean, am I going to put it in much poses for a waist rotation? Maybe, maybe not. How the arms split apart, very clever. Very cool, do like that, and I think we're only going to see more of it. It makes a lot of sense for the Scramble City combiners. The gun is nice enough. It would have been nice if it came with a shield. I actually kept looking in the box to thinking I dropped it, but it doesn't come with a shield at all. Would have been good if it had one to sit in the upper section, but I like that you can mount it on the arm and he can give his full arm out shooting pose. That's cool. I like that. And I think it kind of won me round in the end, to the point that I wasn't going to go in for Hasbro combiners going through this set and getting the individual figures. Silverbolt really impressed me. The commander classes are doing a lot of the work, a lot of the heavy lifting, and I really do like it. I felt the individual jets were a bit of a letdown, save one or two of them. And I thought, oh, is this really going to be for me? Is this really what I want to have, a row of combiners? Putting them all together though, and seeing Onslaught at MCM, I think I am going to stay in. For any of you who are not sure and thinking what the other combiners are going to be like, yeah, I can see a Defensor like this, I can see a Bruticus like this. Hopefully, eventually, Predaking, Abominus, and Computron as well. I wasn't sure with the combined frame being the way to go, but looking back on it, I think it's probably the only thing you can do. You've just got to incorporate the combined frame into the Commander bot somehow. And we've seen that with Onslaught, how it's going to be effectively a continuation of his alt mode. It makes the most sense. Probably going to get some kind of base mode or battle station for Hotspot as well. So when it's the likes of Motormaster, it was easy to do. For Silverbolt, it was a little bit more challenging. I think that technique is here to stay. It's probably the best way to do it. Otherwise, it is just going to be a giant torso lumbering around. The price is a bit of a sticking point, however, and it's a bit of a hard one to say in a combined video because you don't buy this outright. It would do well to have a box set. But with Air Raid going for £22, £23 on retail, and then seeing it come down to £8, there's a bit of a comparative difference there, and that's a bit of a shame. I think these Limbots are individual enough and small enough to warrant £8, £10, if I'm brutally honest, and therefore it massively brings down the cost of the figure. But so much of this combined form is Silverbolt and a big accessory plus some bits stuck on. So I feel like it's hard to say, is this set worth the better part of £200 when it's really one figure? And I think that's a bit of an annoying contentious point because you're still dropping £180, £200 or even £160 depending on the combiner you're buying. But it's hard to say, is it worth it? Is it comparative when you see these
figures that aren't doing an awful lot forming as arms, dropping as low as £8, but you need them to complete the figure nevertheless. But I like it, I really do. I think combiners in this form are here to stay. I'm more impressed with it than I thought it would be. I was thinking about parting with it, but for now, he's going to stay in my collection. Based on this, I give this guy 3 3/4 one of my star badges. A couple of niggling issues, and some of the bots weren't as good as they could have been, but some of the plus points here are very good, very fun, and combiners are always fun. Just wants things like the opening and closing of hands, and I wish the head sculpt was a little bit more toon accurate or just better sculpted, sadly to say, and I would have liked some toe tilt down, but otherwise everything else is here that you could hope to want from a chug version of Superion. And there we go, that is my review of the final of the Aerialbots combined up to Superion from Hasbro's Age of the Primes. I'll put some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching, and as always I will see you on the next one.